Hey guys, Coach Oz here. In today's Friday functional fit tip, I'm going to show you an exercise that again I feel that is universal in terms of benefiting almost anybody's, I guess, training goal and specific situation that you may have from a say functional standpoint. Whether you have poor posture, you do have back discomfort, specifically low back, maybe tightness discomfort, hip and or even knee discomfort, then this exercise would certainly be of benefit to kind of incorporate into your program. And even anybody that's even looking just to enhance overall strength, maybe not necessarily you have, say, discomfort or an issue or posture issues, just you're looking to really enhance your overall strength. The core and the glutes, which is definitely the key focus of this particular exercise, should always be your central focus point when you're exercising. That should be kind of the key target area to where your training plan kind of starts, and then so-called branch from that, because certainly the core and the glutes are practically active and supportive from a stabilizing standpoint in all the major so-called strength exercise anyways, but even things such as like running, walking and running, which is obviously very common exercises that a lot of people do. Glutes and core, you ask any running coach or they are certainly key in terms of your gait performance and endurance and things like that. So a great exercise that kind of so-called synergistically bridge so-called the core and the glutes, which, like I said, in everyday functioning, they should work together. It's not just one part of the core that does when you're in motion, is on versus and same thing from your glutes. It's not like you only have your glutes in action when you're, say, going from a seated position to a standing position. It all works obviously systematically. So this exercise I like to call is the kind of synergistic side bridge. Even though it's set up like a side plank, the bridge, because when you think about a bridge, the classic bridge exercise where you just lift your hips off the floor, is more of a glute-based exercise. So it is set up as a side plank, but what we're going to be looking at doing is kind of pretty well incorporating all aspects of your deep core muscles, obliques, obviously rectus abdominis, but even the low back extensors, multifidus. Won't get into anything like that, but just certainly the big core, basically full 360 around, along with your hip stabilizers, specifically your glutes. Okay, so what you're going to do, there's really kind of two components to this in terms of, I'll show you the true exercise, but really make sure that you can even just get into the so-called side plank, because it starts as a side plank from the knees. That's what it looks like, but as you'll see the exercise, it's a little bit more of kind of a bridge focus. So really, just like any side plank setup, make sure the elbow is stacked directly underneath the shoulder. So it shouldn't be forward, shouldn't be underneath. Make sure it's comfortable, shoulders back. Okay, knees should be up around, say give or take 45 degrees, so not up at 90 here, and your legs are not straight. So bring the knees up. From there, core tight. Okay, you're gonna literally, from this kind of back position on the floor, you're gonna raise the hips up and then towards you. Okay, so in my case, obviously towards the camera. So I'm just gonna come up through. So now I'm a nice straight line through. So if you can't do this, or this is a struggle for even, anywhere up to, I'd say, 15 to 30 seconds, then really hone in on this, work on this, try to obviously increase your time and go from there. But the true exercise is really maximizing, like I said, core activation with glute activation. So what you're going to do is, once you kind of get into position, okay, I'm going to raise that top leg, and the so-called my left femur, I'm trying to rotate, so my feet, instead of kind of my feet being obviously parallel with one another, then really my top foot almost becomes somewhat perpendicular. I'm not touching feet, so I actually have my legs raised, but by externally rotating my hip, I can really squeeze that left butt cheek. But my right foot, my right knee, which is obviously attached to the floor, I'm heavily pressing that right knee into the floor. Okay, so I have the hips up, core is obviously really maximally engaged. My right knee is pressing through the floor as hard as I can, but I'm also my left leg is turned out, and I'm really squeezing basically obviously both glutes as much as possible. And I'm trying to hold that through. Really, it's not like typical planks and things like that where you're looking at, trying to get it way up to, 60 seconds. Think about really breaking it down into, say, even, 10 to 15 seconds, but repeating, 8 to 12, 8 to 10 reps to get a really good kind of, not only, I mean, you should definitely get a burn really after probably 1 or 2 reps, let alone, upwards in that kind of 8 rep range. But again, the times and reps can obviously be based on your experience and whatnot, and of course both sides. But in terms of applying into your program, it could be built within part of your warm-up. Exercises that could be a couple minutes before you actually get into your main part of your workout, and or could actually be built right into obviously the main part of your workout, which I suggest, like I said, a lot of these exercises should be, taking a little bit more of a so-called advanced thought process on how we move. And this exercise certainly allows to kind of bridge that gap between the big kind of the two primary areas of where our movement starts from, which is certainly the core and the glutes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, any questions, comments, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, till next time.